Rule-based trade is one of the priorities for Renew Europe, and today is an important day here in the European Parliament in Strasbourg, because tomorrow we will have a vote on agreements that we will reach between the EU and Vietnam. And to discuss this, we have here our shadow rapporteur, is the MEP Karin Karlsbro, who will give us more details on what is the agreements for. So let's start for the basic. Which are the agreements that we are going to reach, hopefully, by the vote tomorrow between the EU and the southeastern country of Vietnam?
I would say that it's the most ambitious trade and investments agreements, because there are two agreements ever that EU have negotiated with the developing country. So I think it's right to say it's a big day in Parliament today and also tomorrow when we will have the vote.
Can you give us some examples? So, for instance, in which way is beneficiary for the EU and, of course, for Vietnam to have this free trade, this rule-based trade agreement?
Yes. The EU and Vietnam, they are already trading partners, but with the trade agreement, you set up rules, and first of all, we will see an economic win-win of this, because we will eliminate almost all tariffs on trade, 99%. But we will also have a more sustainable trade, and that's very important for people, for the environment, for the climate, when we agree on the rules for the trade.
Is this going to develop the country in a more sustainable way also, and maybe to create more employment, or maybe help them with the digitalization also as well? So in the way that Vietnam can also trade their products in a digital way towards Europe?
Yes, I would say that it's really a win-win affair, because we will gain from the trade and they will also gain from a better trade. And already today we trade a lot, but with this reduction of trade barriers, it will be easier, it will be more benefitable and better for all. And you know, Vietnam was a very poor country not long time ago, but is now developing very fast. So we think that this can promote prosperity and really make difference for people. But I come back to the sustainability chapter in these agreements, because I think it's really essential, because we can talk about trade and the economic aspects of trade. It's very important and good, but when we add sustainability chapters to the trade agreements, we can also make difference when it comes to, for example, labor rights, worker rights.
Another side of the agreement, the other one that is not trade, is investment. Can you give us an example on which fields will this investment will take place in Vietnam?
Well, there are a lot of companies investing in Vietnam. I think we can give example what we wear, clothes, shoes. That's one important part of the business sector, but also technical, digital industry, and we see a growing industry when it comes to vehicles, for example. But I think this will also promote innovation and other new kind of industries that had not been there before. So in future, I think it will not only be the traditional textile and industry that we see today. It will change.
There are some concerns on breaches of the rule of law and human rights in Vietnam. For instance, as you were mentioning, these investments and this trade can maybe help to develop the commerce in the country, but we also have to make sure that the employees are in the conditions that they should be, even of age, wage, etc. How can the EU kind of monitor or help to make sure that these human rights and the rights of the employees who are going to work on this commerce that will create trade for us, that these are respected? Do you have any concerns on this?
Yes, I think this is a very interesting example that shows that trade and rule-based trade can together this can really make changes, because when the European Union started the negotiation in 2012, we had a lot of problem with child labor. There were no ILO conventions ratified, and so during the years the negotiation had gone on. We can see that today Vietnam had signed 6 out of 8 ILO core conventions, and the 2 others will be ratified and signed this summer and the coming years. So we see that the negotiation of this trade agreement have an impact itself. And I just heard a number from the ILO organization that 43% of the child labor, it was a reduction of 43% of child labor in Vietnam since the negotiation started. And I think that's a good example, because we want to trade, but we will do it in a decent way.
Maybe as from a European point of view when it comes to rules. That's why basically we are betting for it.
European, or I would say global rules, because now we come into human rights, and as you said, Vietnam is not a democracy. Vietnam doesn't respect human rights, and that's a big challenge when we have these discussions. And we believe that this agreement, with its sustainability chapters, could play a role as a bridge for more discussions, more dialogue on human rights. And I will give you an example. This Parliament, when we scrutinized the agreement, we focused a lot on the human rights situation and tried to find out how we best could use this trade agreement and find tools to improve the human rights situation in Vietnam. And we found out that we have to find a monitoring body or a system where we can invite civil society, environmental activists, human rights activists to take part in the monitoring of these agreements. So now if the Parliament adopt the resolution, we will have this system, and it can start work very soon. And it will be the first time activists, freedom fighters can be involved in a public debate like this in Vietnam. And I think this is a progress, and I would be very, very proud of that.
The World Trade Organization receives a lot of pressure for other entities or other countries, for instance, like United States. We are not really pushing for free trade or for rule-based, more for the protectionism. Which is the role of the EU in this case, and how relevant or how big is the EU within the World Trade Organization in order to be the trendsetter and the one who will establish the rules to achieve this rule-based trade, not only in Vietnam, but maybe in other countries around the area, South America or in South Asia or anywhere?
Well, I think the best way to lead is to show good examples. And we know that the World Trade Organization is quite shaky today. And if we can show that the free rule-based trade has a strong position in the European Parliament, that European Union stands strong for free and rule-based trade, I think it's the best we can do in today's world. And I think that this also sends out a very important signal to China that we stay strong and we have ambition to trade, to do business, and also stand up for our ideas of democracy and human rights globally.
As we mentioned before, this will be voted in the plenary tomorrow.
Yes.
It passed without no problem at committee level in INTA. Do you expect them to be successful tomorrow with this file?
Well, we had the debate today, and I have to say that I'm very disappointed when I listen to my colleagues from the Greens group, because they refuse these agreements. And my question to them is, do you think it will be better? Will it be a more sustainable development without these agreements? We are already trading. Will it be better without this monitoring system as I described for you? I say no, it will not be. This will give us lots of opportunity to put press, to encourage a good development when it comes to human rights, democracy, respect for the environment, etc. So I hope that we will have support of a majority in the Parliament tomorrow for both the agreements, but you can never be sure. We have to wait and see for tomorrow's vote.
As you can see, trade and investment are the two main files that we will be voted tomorrow, but there are a lot of things, that they are involved when it comes to helping the country to develop human rights, rules and everything. So this is one important role for the European Parliament, to be a role model also in other sides of the world. For this, I thank you so much for your time, Ms. Karlsbro, and all of you staying at home, just stay tuned to Facebook and to our social media channel, because we have much more topics to discuss from here, from Strasbourg. Thank you so much.